I wanted to talk about some of my most anticipated movies of 2026. And I'm not going to go through every single movie coming out this year. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. And I will say, when it comes to January, there was a few movies I enjoyed, but I did enjoy 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. I thought that was a good time. I actually think it was better than the 28 Years Later that came out last year. But I did enjoy Sin Help quite a bit. So for me, of January, Sin Help and 28 Years Later were the best movies of January. But what do you say? We get out of that dead zone of cinema and we move into February, which sort of even looks more dead when you look at it here. I'm not looking forward to all of these. I'm sort of just talking about a few along the way, and I'll dive into the ones that I really give a shit about. But we have Crime 101 that sort of looks like a made-for-streaming movie starring Chris Hemsworth. You have this Wuthering Heights movie with Margot Robbie. I'm not probably ever going to watch that. But the one I'm looking forward to at the very end of February is Scream 7. Now, I have not been a big fan of the last couple of Scream movies. I did not think they were good. I would almost go so far as to say I think they were pretty bad. Just the twist and the turns and the lack of nuance or creativity or characters that were compelling. For me, when it comes to the Scream franchise, I love Scream 1. I think that is by far and away one of the best meta horror films of the last 30 years. And I don't feel like it's really ever been topped with any of its predecessors or sequels. I mean, Scream 2 is okay, but it doesn't even shine a light to Scream 1. I did get to meet the original cast of Scream, so that was pretty cool. And I did whisper in Matthew Lillard's ear, and I said, "Are you going to be the killer in Scream 7? And he went, "My parents are going to be pissed, man." And then he said, "Yeah." But actually, half of that's a lie, but I did meet them, and I am hoping Stu is the killer or returns in some glorious, bloody fashion. So I'm looking forward to Scream 7. I think the trailer looks good. They got Neve Campbell coming back, so I have some faith that this movie will at least be somewhat entertaining. The next one here is The Bride, another Frankenstein spin-off movie I will never watch. What is it with what's going on lately? All we get is new Dracula movies and new Frankenstein movies. What is happening? And when it comes to March movies, Project Hail Mary is not only one of my most anticipated movies of March, it's probably one of my most anticipated movies of the entire year. Now, let's back up about 5-6 months ago. I read the novel Project Hail Mary by the same author of The Martian, which was later adapted into a film directed by Ridley Scott. Quite enjoyed that. But if you want a space sci-fi epic adventure with a lot of twists, a lot of turns, and some very surprising but lovable characters along the way, Project Hail Mary gave me all of those things. I will probably say it's one of the best novels I've ever read in my entire life. But Project Hail Mary is a movie I'm really looking forward to. It's directed by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, stars Ryan Gosling. And I hope this movie does the novel justice. I really do, because it is so fascinating. And this adventure in space where they travel light years to save planet Earth, where it's all based in science to a believable degree, but it does have a lot of fictional fun. And then in April, we have the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Listen, I like Mario. I do enjoy the games quite a bit. I like the character. I like the lore. And Super Mario World is probably, if not my favorite game I've ever played in my entire life. And when I'm having a bad day, and I've had many of bad days over the last 4 or 5 years, I'll tell you what evens me out. It makes me feel so alive and like a kid again, and just makes me forget about the harsh realities of this thing that we call life. And that is playing Super Mario World on my classic SNES. It just takes me to a happy place. And if I'm really in the mood to beat the game in 12 minutes, I'll just go through Star World. But anyway, when it comes to the first one a couple years ago, they're not quite what I want them to be. They just feel like pulp culture IP vomit to some degree. But I will watch this movie. I always have this guilty pleasure love for the shitty live action Super Mario Bros. Movie from 1992. Starring John Leguizamo. What is this, a giant booga or something? where it doesn't really look like a Mario Brothers movie, but I like it and for all the wrong reasons. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Have you guys seen the trailer to this? No? Okay, so I was sort of looking forward to this because I was like, hey, I love The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. I even like part 2 of that with the shitty Scorpion King with the PS2 CGI graphics when The Rock turns into a giant scorpion. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But I like those movies. And when they said they were sort of rebooting that and going a more darker, sinister approach to it, I was like, okay, I think the Mummy concept can lend itself to that. I like the classic monster genre. But then you watch the trailer for this movie and it just looks like a movie that costs $23 that should be crapped out on Shudder that you would watch at 3 o'clock in the morning and then fall asleep and never finish it the next day. This does not look very good. The next one here is the new Michael Jackson biopic. I thought the trailer was pretty good. You know, I think if you're a fan of Michael Jackson and you want to celebrate his music in sort of a glossy PG-13 biopic that's not going to go too far into the dark nitty-gritty of his life and probably the childhood trauma and some of the questionable stuff that he did later on in life, it's not going to delve into that at all. It's going to be a bit surface level, but I think the thing that it's going to do is definitely recreate some of the magic of his music. And when it comes to Michael Jackson, he is truly fascinating. I mean, he is the king of pop. Say what you will, he simply is. And he made super awesome, badass music, which is some of the catchiest shit I've ever heard in my life. So I'm definitely going to check out the Michael Jackson biopic. I just have a feeling it's going to be very surface level and very glossy, much like the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic was. Like, there's a lot of stuff you could talk about when it comes to Freddie Mercury, and maybe that would sort of take away from the celebration of his music. I am super curious on the performance of Jafar Jackson doing his best impression of Michael Jackson in this film. The voice sounds on par. At certain angles, when you squint your eyes, he does sort of look like Michael Jackson. All right, the next one is Devil Wears Prada 2. I watched the first one once. It was okay, but who cares? All right, the next one I want to talk about here is Mortal Kombat 2. Get over here! And please make a good movie, or else just finish this franchise with an uppercut to the pits down below. Now, when it comes to that first Mortal Kombat movie, not the glorious Mortal Kombat movie from 1995, which I still say is the best video game movie ever made, and it gave me everything I needed back when I was a 10-year-old boy in 1995. As far as that other Mortal Kombat movie that we got a couple years ago, I think it didn't quite give me what I wanted as an MK fan. You know, it introduced a main character that had no lore, and that was really disappointing because when you go to the Mortal Kombat franchise, there's like 700 characters you could tell a story about, but they didn't do that in the last movie. They just had some guy named Cole who was generic player 1, and we were supposed to care about him fighting Goro in some guy's garage in his backyard. A little bit anticlimactic, to say the least. But this new Mortal Kombat movie, I have some faith because it's following Johnny Cage. And also you have Carl Urban playing Johnny Cage, which good casting, good character, and maybe it'll be the new Mortal Kombat movie that overshadows that original 1995 film. I don't think you can top the techno theme song, though. No how, no way. Star Wars, Mandalorian, and Grogu. Now let me take a sip of this caffeinated beverage. Now, I like season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian. I think they're fine entertainment. And there's definitely some episodes I love. Now, some of the later stuff with Mandalorian, who doesn't like little baby Grogu, right? He was made to sell plushies, and that's what he does. But when it comes to this movie, this to me just looks like something that should have been made for Disney Plus. Like the vibe of it, the tone, even the CGI and the look of it, that very dull Disney Plus look, that color grading that they give all of their Star Wars properties. I don't know what it is, like they're afraid of contrast. But I will watch this, but it just looks like it should just be 3 episodes of Mandalorian. But then again, when it comes to Star Wars and Disney, well, they're sort of hanging on for dear life, so they'll probably crap out anything they can at this point. The next one I want to talk about here is Masters of the Universe. I did a trailer reaction for this on the last live show, and for me, this sort of looks like Thor Ragnarok. Like, it just looks like Thor Ragnarok, but that's okay. If the new He-Man movie, Masters of the Universe, borrow that Thor Ragnarok vibe where it's a little bit meta and kind of fun, and they poke fun at all the cheesy elements but still give you awesome characters and action sequences, but it knows what it is. I really feel like that's the right direction to go with a Masters of the Universe movie, and if for nothing else, there is no way, no how that this can be any worse than the Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe that looks like it was a made-for-TV movie. Also, this sort of reminds me of that Dungeons and Dragons movie that we got a couple years ago with Chris Pine, where it has this fantasy, this lore, but it's also sort of meta and aware of what it is. And I think that's sort of the tone to go with this. You got to make it a comedy that pays tribute to the IP. All right, the next one I want to talk about here is Disclosure Day, directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, it's been a while since I've been truly excited about a Steven Spielberg movie, and he is a master craftsman filmmaker. I mean, he's made some of my favorite movies of all time. I just watched Jurassic Park a couple weeks ago, and that shit still lives up. But when it comes to Disclosure Day, it's an alien invasion movie to some degree, and the biggest question is, will we see aliens? Or, my theory is, we are the aliens, and now we're finding out about it. Dun dun dun! Hopefully Spielberg is back. Alright, we talked about Ghostface earlier with Scream 7, but the next movie I'm going to talk about here is Scary Movie 6, coming out June 12th. Now, it's been a while since I've enjoyed a scary movie. I will say Scary Movie 2 to me was by far the best, because you had, let me use my strong hand, child. Ooh, you make mashed potatoes and you stick it in there like that, and poke it like that, and then you stuff in the turkey. I don't care what anyone says, that is the funniest movie character ever presented on film. I'm kind of looking forward to Scary Movie 6. Okay, and by the way, on a side note, did you know originally Scream was supposed to be called Scary Movie? Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about here is Toy Story 5, because you still got a friend in me. But we're Andy's toys! I was not a huge fan of Toy Story 4. I thought it was like the weakest of the franchise, but I love me some Toy Story. Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, which I did show my wife because she forgot everything about it. We watched it a couple months ago, and that scene where the toys are accepting their fate and going down that incinerator and holding hands, oh, that put a lump in my throat. Also, the ending scene where Andy has one last playtime with his toys before he finally lets go of his childhood innocence and moves on. That still makes me sad. It reminded me of the ending of Stranger Things. Kind of the exact same similar theme and vibe. But anyway, I'm looking forward to Toy Story 5. As long as it's better than Toy Story 4, I will be happy. And the fact that it's focusing on iPad kids and every little kid having extreme ADHD at this point in society, I think that'll be a fascinating concept as well. Supergirl, I'll watch it. Jason Momoa as Lobo looks kind of cool. I'm sure it'll be a fine, entertaining movie to watch at the drive-in, and that's probably where I'm going to savor that flavor. Okay, the next one I want to talk about here is Jackass 5. Now, I'm a huge fan of Jackass. Now, the last Jackass movie I thought was a little bit lame, especially when they introduced new cast members. It just didn't, it felt disingenuous to me. It's just like, here's this hired guy to fall down. It's like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the original Jackass crew doing weird, crazy shit and defying gravity and falling down and hitting themselves in the face or getting nut shots or smelling each other's farts. That's what Jackass is to me and will always be. So I am kind of looking forward to this. My number one most anticipated movie of 2026 is Minions 3, though. I'm lying to you. It's actually the live action Moana. No, I'm still lying to you. I am curious to see The Rock wearing a big prosthetic muscle suit, though, in this. No. And the Odyssey is probably going to be my most anticipated theater-going experience of the summer. But when it comes to Nolan movies, there's a lot I love, there's a lot that I think are okay, and there's a few that I am not a fan of at all. I'm talking to you, Tenet. I'm talking to you. But I am looking forward to the Odyssey, the Homer's poem. I love this ancient time period-esque vibe of cinema. I love a good sword and sandals flick, and I just watched Troy last night for like the 78th time, and damn, it still holds up. Like they could not make a movie like Troy today if they tried. And when that movie came out originally, it had like mediocre reviews. And I feel like if a movie like Troy came out today, it would blow people's hair back and they'd give it like an A+. Because I've seen some of the movies people give 10 out of 10s to, and it's like, yeah, that's a DVD movie at best. But when it comes to the Odyssey, hey, we're going to have 70 millimeter IMAX sequences, an awesome score. Hopefully Nolan does this film justice. You got Matt Damon playing Odysseus. So can't wait to check it out. Hopefully it lives up to the hype and it looks badass on IMAX. All right, speaking of big epic summer movies and movies starring Tom Holland, who is also in the Odyssey, let's talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day, which we haven't even gotten a trailer for yet, and the movie comes out in 5 months. With the previous incarnation of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, it was so ingrained in the multiverse and all the MCU characters, and it just felt so convoluted. I just want a simplistic Spider-Man movie at the street level where he's fighting Spider-Man villains and foes in New York City, saving the day. I don't need Doctor Strange to show up and Tony Stark, and I don't need all this other nonsensical shit happening in my Spider-Man movie. Just give me a Spider-Man movie and I'll be happy. That's all we want. So when it comes to Spider-Man No Way Home, we sort of left off with that. All of humanity is now brainwashed. Who's Peter Parker? Who's Spider-Man? I don't know. So now Spider-Man is starting back from square one. He's living in a shitty apartment. He's making his outfit again. He doesn't have Stark tech. And I'm hoping the movie just focuses on that and just goes with it. And that would be an awesome Spider-Man movie because I think Tom Holland's a great Peter Parker. I think he looks the part. He's physical. I think he's a good Spider-Man movie. I can't really imagine anyone else playing the character right now. So the fact that they might be rebooting this and sort of doing a soft reboot, that gets me excited, and I'm hoping that's what it is. I've heard rumors that the villain will be Tombstone, and then you have Zadie Sink in the movie. Is she playing MJ? Is she playing Spider-Girl? I don't know. The next one we'll talk about is Clayface. Now, Clayface is being made because Joker, the first Joker, we're not talking about the musical version with Lady Gaga. No. We'll pretend like that movie doesn't exist. But when it comes to the R-rated, based on a comic book character, Joker, Joaquin Phoenix from 2019, that movie made over $1 billion. And it deserved to make over $1 billion because they did everything right with that movie. They took an IP character and gave you a real film that sort of made you forget that you were just watching like a comic book character. It gave you world building. It gave you a character study. And I feel like if they can duplicate that same magic with something like Clayface, which the character of Clayface can be truly fascinating with a dark tale behind it. Talk about a guy with body dysmorphia trying to be an actor who has disfigurement issues. That lends itself to being an awesome character study. So I'm looking forward to Clayface. The next one I want to talk about here is Street Fighter coming out in October next year, or this year. And I'm sort of looking forward to this new Street Fighter movie. And this looks to me like it's going to have that self-aware tone, much like every other movie based on like a video game or an IP from the 80s or what have you. It feels like all those IP movies now have this new tone where they don't take themselves too serious and they have some fun with the concept and have a little bit of self-awareness. Now, you can go too far with that, but I feel like with Street Fighter, as long as you have the characters, and judging by the trailer, I'm just happy that the characters look like the characters, they sound like the characters, and that's step number one. But step number two is just give me a somewhat competent movie with some cool fighting scenes, and I'll be happy. Also, Jason Momoa plays Blanca, and Cody Rhodes from WWE plays Guile. But hey, I'm okay with those casting choices. Then we have Godzilla Minus Zero coming out next November. I was a big fan of Godzilla, the Godzilla Minus One. Sorry, that took a lot of energy from my brain to get out. Hopefully it's just as good as the first one, and I will be happy with it. I'm glad we're getting these simplistic Godzilla movies, because these like bloated, junky ones that Warner Brothers was crapping out for like the last 5 years, they're just bad, bloated junk. But I like the simplicity of these these other Godzilla movies that take place in the 1940s time period. To me, that's like where Godzilla is more special and where Godzilla belongs. So I'm looking forward to it. Then we have the Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping. When it comes to the Hunger Game movies, I think like the first one or two are okay. I've never been a big fan of the Hunger Games movies. But when it comes to this new one, I kind of like the way it looks more than the previous installments in the franchise. just like the scope of it, it looks well crafted and more cinematic. Like those earlier Hunger Game movies, the way that they were shot, it just didn't look like they had enough money to do what they wanted to. And I didn't like some of the shaky cam stuff that was going on. But anyway, kind of looking forward to it. We got Jumanji 3 coming out. Yeah, I don't care either. We got to talk about it. It's Avengers Doomsday coming out December 18th. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of most MCU movies. I think the last phase or two of the MCU sort of was a letdown, but I am looking forward to Avengers Doomsday because you have the Russo brothers coming back. You have the original cast coming back. And I feel like as long as they focus on characters and setting up the X-Men and Doctor Doom and give me all those glorious things culminating into one big action spectacle blockbuster movie, I will be content. I'm really curious to see what they do with this. I have some theories, but I don't want to dive into all of those right now for the sake of the how long we've already been talking. But I'm looking forward to Avengers Doomsday. I'm sure you probably are too. I mean, even if you hate most MCU movies, you got to check out the new Avengers movies, all right? That's and the fact that they have all the original cast members, which were the best part of the MCU coming back, it's okay, I have confidence in this to some degree. If you can't have Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man, well, just bring him back to play Doctor Doom. So be it. All right, the next one I want to talk about here, and this will be the last one on my most anticipated movies of 2026, is Dune Messiah, starring Timothée Chalamet. Watching the second Dune movie a couple years ago, it made me like the first Dune movie even more. I'm not talking about the 1980s Dune movie. That sucks. I've tried to watch that movie 5 times over the last 20 years, and I can never get through it. No matter how hard I try, I cannot get through that shit. But I'm looking forward to Dune Messiah. I like Dune 2 quite a bit. And it's sort of just a fascinating fictional sci-fi universe. And once you kind of understand the lore and the logic behind it, it definitely does make it a bit better. And going into it fresh the first time, I didn't know all of that. So I was a bit confused on some aspects, but I still enjoyed the visuals and the spectacle of it. But I'm definitely looking forward to Dune Messiah. So anyway, guys, those are some of my most anticipated movies of 2026. If you have any down below, please share those down below and let me know what your most anticipated movies of 2026 are.